Kristen, I am so excited about this week's episode.
Oh, really? Why's that?
While we are highlighting Mary's memo, it is not for the recipe. Instead, we're going to focus on a lifestyle tip that inspired a recipe. So I guess that you could say today we're going with a theme.
Ooh, I love a good theme. What is it?
It's apples.
Oh, you mean like an apple a day keeps the doctor away?
Oh, exactly, but better. Today, it's an apple cake a day.
I love that. Let's do it. Welcome to Mom's Wooden Spoon.
Get your apron on and your fanny flicker ready as we cook up some nostalgia.
Ooh, yummy.
Hi, this is Carrie,
And this is Kristen.
and welcome to National Apple Month.
Woohoo! We love apples.
So, looking through Mary's memo, we are going to deviate a little bit and we're going to do a recipe that is not included in a memo, but it is inspired by the words of Mary.
It definitely is. And it is the best recipe ever.
Oh, I'm so excited about the recipe.
Me
Can't even
too.
tell you. Okay, so the Mary's memo we're working off of is from March 21st of 1977. And the reason that we picked this one is because it starts with an apple a day may keep pounds away.
Ooh, I could use some of that.
We decided to change it up a little to an apple cake a day,
Yeah.
which is not going to keep pounds away.
It will not, but it'll taste so much better.
And it'll make me so happy.
It brings back such great memories.
So the recipe is our father's favorite cake of all time.
Oh, yeah. You cannot go wrong with Dad's apple cake.
Never. It is a birthday cake, a coffee cake.
An anniversary cake.
I'm hungry and I want some cake.
Oh my gosh, my daughters are visiting. I need some cake.
Yes.
Yeah.
All of those things. But so to divert back to the Mary's memo and what kind of started all of this is this kind of not even a diet is at all what
No.
she presents.
I think it's like a healthy eating tips, kind of a way to get you started being more in the moment, to think about being present as you eat foods because, I probably starting in the 70s with TV dinners and watching TV as you ate. And my goodness, we certainly do it today. We watch TV while we eat or we sit on the couch and eat.
Yes.
We are not in the moment enjoying that food and recognizing the food that's in our mouth.
Not at all. And so, Mary, not a fad diet.
No, not one bit.
She picked one, and I'm going to tell you. It is called the Better Than a Diet program.
Oh.
And the long and the short of this Better Than a Diet program is to take an apple every day and be one with the apple.
Smell the apple. Cut the apple.
Peel the apple. Now smell the apple again.
Then taste the apple, but only a tiny bite.
What do you taste? What are the aromas of the apple? It is, basically spend 15 minutes with this apple, eating, recognizing. In general, the idea is just as you said, pay attention to what you're eating.
I remember back when we were kids, our Aunt Sandy did that diet where, it wasn't really a diet. She said, chew every piece of food 100 times.
Every time.
Every time.
Yep. And she was serious.
Dinner was cold by the time we finished eating dinner after trying that. But it was another way to kind of think about what you were eating.
Yes.
As we're talking about diet plans or, eating plans, I actually found this article online that was written by a woman very recently, and it was called, I Ate Like a 1970s Housewife, and Here's What Happens.
I saw that
Isn't
and
it
I
crazy?
didn't open it.
Oh, I'm so glad you didn't because it is the craziest fad diet I've ever heard of. It is basically eggs, wine, and steak.
Oh my gosh. It is called the wine and eggs diet.
Did you look it up too?
Not through that, but it was absolutely a fad diet of the 70s.
Oh my gosh, this woman said she was so drunk and so sick at the end of every day. She goes, I drink wine. I eat eggs and steak, but just nothing but wine and eggs and steak. She had to give it up.
How could you not? So what I read is that you started with an egg and a glass of wine, and then you had whatever they dictated for lunch and a glass of wine, and then you ate again whatever they told you to, and the rest of the bottle.
One bottle allowed per day, it said.
Yes.
An entire bottle of wine each day.
And no carbs to kind of soak it up.
That's right. So breakfast is 1 egg, hard boiled, 1 glass of white wine, dry, preferably Chablis.
Oh.
And black coffee. Lunch, it gets even better. 2 eggs, hard boiled is best, but poached if necessary. Why that makes a difference, I don't know. Now, wait a minute. 2 glasses of white wine at lunch. Whoa. Imagine if you were at work.
Oh, no.
You couldn't do this.
No.
This would be a housewife.
Although in the 70s, I don't believe it was incredibly uncommon to have the booze drawer at work.
True. Our dad had a candy drawer.
Well, he was a school principal, so no booze drawer.
No, but I like the candy drawer a lot better than a booze drawer. Yes.
You were 6.
That's true. All right. And then dinner is a 5-ounce steak, now specifically grilled with black pepper and lemon juice. Oh, delicious. Remainder of the white wine and more black coffee.
Wow. So kudos to Mary for doing a well-balanced, non-fad diet, because I will tell you, there was no shortage of fad diet options in the 70s.
No, not at all. I think our mom did every one of them.
I have no doubt.
Yeah.
I remember her, and I could not find anything about this, mentioning to me recently that she did one that you took your most favorite food in the world and you opened it and you smelled it and you licked it and then you put it away.
Oh.
But like within sight.
Torture.
Yes. I do have another fad diet. I have 2.
Oh, I can't wait to hear about it.
I feel like I need to tell you.
I think you do.
And I feel like I need to tell you before we start measuring sugar, well, because they're a diet.
That's right. So let's get the diet part over with so then we can make the world's best apple cake.
Right. Okay. Which you should have one of a day. Forget these diets.
You really should. And folks, this is one recipe you are going to want to go to our website and find. Every time we make this,
oh, it's a hit.
It is a huge hit. And people ask me for this recipe constantly.
My husband, who hates all cake, loves this. It is the moistest cake ever.
You said moist. You can't go wrong with it.
And I scoured the interwebs looking for this cake recipe.
You can't find it.
It is nowhere. I found close variations of it, but nowhere did I find this recipe or something like it.
No.
We have no idea where it came from. You cannot find it in the 1970s sexy pineapple diet.
Sexy pineapple.
They are not calling pineapple sexy.
Oh, you will be sexy if you eat pineapple.
Yes.
Okay.
And the idea is that there's something in it that will make you, oh gosh, I don't know the word, sexed up.
Oh, wow.
They're aphrodisiacs.
You're kidding me.
According to these people, you eat normally and then 2 days a week, you just eat pineapple.
Oh my. That is not healthy.
Oh, not even close.
Your blood sugar would be through the roof on those days.
Yes.
You know, that's crazy. And do you remember those diet pills that mom used to have? They were called, unfortunately, AIDS, AIDS.
No.
Yep. They were really popular in the 1970s and 1980s until actual disease AIDS came out. And then they totally took them off the market.
Of course.
Yeah. But they were these little candies, like chocolate candies, or you get them in caramel. I remember mom telling me, do not touch these. They look like chocolate. They smell like chocolate, but they are a medicine. Yep.
Wow.
And what was crazy is that the advertisements for these say, no drugs, all natural, just vitamins and healthy, good for you supplements.
And they're chock full of uppers.
I mean, yes.
Really?
You know, when they first came out, and I think the 1950s, they were made with benzocaine, which is in Oragel. It totally numbed your mouth. You couldn't feel the food. You couldn't taste the food. How horrible would that be?
Well, then why would you want to eat?
You wouldn't want to eat. That would be horrific.
Oh, that's mean.
That was really bad. And so then they switcherooed, I think in like late 60s, early 70s, and they put in a med that's not only a stimulant that was found in over-the-counter cough and cold medicines, it was also found in veterinary medicine as an incontinence med for dogs.
What?
So that sounds healthy to be taking that.
For sure.
So bad. So basically they were uppers. You don't remember these at all, right? That mom taking them?
Not at all.
She had them in the little medicine cabinet off of the guest bathroom.
Yes.
That was off of our laundry room. Do you remember that medicine cabinet? Well, I started thinking about that bathroom, which made me think of the countertop that was in that bathroom. Do you remember it?
Oh, so very well. It was like sepia tones.
Yes.
And it had what looked like old clippings of old newspapers.
Yes, old advertisements from like the 1800s.
Yes.
And they had similar countertop on Wendy's tables and on the wallpaper in Subway restaurants back in the 80s.
Oh, how funny.
Yes, I found a picture of it and it brought back memories because you would sit on the toilet
and read the ads. Of course.
So I'll put that on the website so you can all see what it was. But I mean, I could instantly pick out which one it was. There were a variety of choices on the interwebs.
Yes.
And I found it.
Well, because you recognized the ads you'd read so many times.
Oh, so many times. That's so funny. But now back to the AIDS diet supplement.
Very healthy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, so good for you. So I was doing a little garage sailing back when we were in Ohio, and I got a hold of some 1970s Good Housekeeping magazines.
Oh, yeah. That's a gold mine.
Oh, they were a gold mine. And they had an actual AIDS advertisement. They had two of them, but my favorite one was called The Fat Dress.
What?
Yes. And here was the advertisement. It had a woman who I didn't think was fat. You know, she just looked normal.
Yeah.
In this flowy kind of blue caftan. And here's what the top said. Yards and yards of loose flowing material can cover up yards and yards of loose flowing body.
What?
Oh, yes, but it gets worse. But like all cover-ups, it's only that. Eventually, you have to come to grips with the real thing. Underneath it all, you're fat.
Shut your face.
Yes.
That's horrible.
It is. Now, it goes on to kind of be sympathetic to the fat woman in it. We just want to help you, you fat fatty.
Right.
Let us help you remove that unsightly fat from your body.
Now that we've insulted you.
Right. Take these chocolate non-drug drugs and your life will be better.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's some serious fat shaming going on there.
Big time. There was tons of fat shaming in the 1970s. No wonder our mom dieted all the time and she was not fat.
No, right. It was kind of what you needed to do.
Right.
They just made it as if you want to, I'm going to air quote, take care of yourself, you need to do these things.
Right. I mean, even Mary says at the end of her apple a day comment is that she is going to do this to kind of fit better into her spring fashions.
To make them look better on her.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So I think it was a mentality of the time.
Right. Not that the spring fashions were cut in an unflattering way.
Right.
No, you need to alter your body to fit. Wow.
Interesting.
It is.
Yep.
Okay, so that was kind of a downer.
It was. I'm sorry.
But I've got the fix.
You have an upper, much like AIDS?
I do. Really, if I had to pick a fad diet in the 70s, this is the one I would want to follow.
Oh, I can't wait to hear it.
Yeah. It's called the Sleeping Beauty Diet. Its premise is very simple. Okay. Hungry? Go take a nap.
I had a boss one time when I was struggling to stay on a diet. She goes, I don't worry about diets. If I get home and I want to eat, I just go to bed.
Yeah. Well, she apparently followed the Sleeping Beauty diet.
You know what? I guess that wouldn't be so bad. Family, fend for yourself. I'm going to bed.
I don't know. Can you sleep 24/7?
I probably could.
Now, it was unhealthy in the fact that if you actually couldn't fall asleep, it recommended you take something to make you fall asleep.
Oh my
because,
goodness.
Drugging yourself was a far better option than eating, apparently.
Absolutely. Oh, that's beautiful. Sleeping Beauty diet.
Sleeping Beauty. So the next time I go take a nap, I'm going to be, oh, no. I'm not napping. I'm dieting.
That's awesome.
I don't think is actually any better, but
Probably not.
Okay.
Probably not.
So enough of all that craziness. Let's move on to the world's best apple cake.
Yep.
If you try this at home and you disagree, you're wrong.
Yeah. There's no way you can. I'm not kidding. This is awesome. So let's read out what's in this one. Let's see. The cool thing about this is you peel the apples and you put them in a bowl with the sugar and oil.
Yes.
And you let it sit until the sugar is almost completely dissolved into that oil. You kind of stir it up and it does something to the cake that the sugar sitting in that oil for that long. And that much oil has got to make a moist cake.
Oh, it's an insane amount of oil.
It is.
Plus, it kind of marinates the apples so they don't get brown.
That's right.
None of that happens.
No. And so it has your typical apple cake ingredients, vanilla, cinnamon, nutmeg.
Yep.
And, we'll put in some salt, some baking powder, eggs, and then 4 cups of apples, thinly sliced. So we got out my old-fashioned apple slicer peeler gizmo that you kind of hook on the countertop, and we will see if it actually stays hooked to the countertop. You may hear a very loud noise and somebody go, oh my gosh, it's because it flew off.
Well, it'll be me. I'm the designated apple core peeler user. So Kristen and I are going to have a race as to who can prepare the most apples.
I've already started.
She's cheating.
Now,
are any of us surprised by this? No, we are not.
Now, Mom taught me how to peel apples. You just kind of move the knife towards your thumb, which I was always scared of as a kid. But, talk about super easy. I'm almost done with this apple.
Oh my gosh. I can't figure out how to get mine started because the little machine keeps wiggling, woggling.
Yeah, that was my concern. It doesn't fit on the countertop very tightly. Now, what it says is to cut your apple and core your apple and then just kind of make thin slices. But I don't ever do slices that are the full length of the apple. I like to cut each apple slice in half. So they're little like inch long, thin pieces of apple. We don't have like full on big slices. Is that how you do it too?
Yes, absolutely.
Yep. So I'm getting the core out of this one as Carrie's still struggling.
Oh my gosh, this machine stinks.
Oh my goodness. So as we're doing this, this is Dad's favorite cake of all time.
It is.
And when I told him that we would be making this, his comment was, oh, do I have a fact for you? And you really need to share this on your podcast.
Really?
Yes. And so he was very, very amused by this, the fact that apple seeds contain cyanide.
Oh.
Yes. And you would have to eat 150 to a few thousand apple seeds crushed up to die or to kill someone.
Perfect.
So please don't do this to someone because Kristen and Carrie told you to.
We are not recommending it as a food source.
If you do it because you heard it on this podcast, please just blame our dad.
He's a nice guy.
He is. He just thought this was the funniest, coolest fact.
All right.
Oh, we have 2 apples done. All right. Not too shabby. I think we have a total of 6 apples, but I think it may be too much.
Yes. I looked online to see how many apples it took to make a cup. I don't remember what the answer was. I think maybe like a medium apple makes 1 cup of apple slices. So we should theoretically need 4.
Okay. Smelling apples reminds me of when we went trick-or-treating, the doctor who lived in our neighborhood gave apples.
Red, delicious. And I used to beg our father to not make me have to go to his house.
Oh my gosh.
And he would be like, no, you're going to go and you're going to take his stupid apple. And
The doctor who did this didn't mean to be sneaky or ugly about it.
no,
But there was a man in our neighborhood.
he was a dentist.
That's true.
So it
That's
made
true.
sense.
Yes. But there was a man in our neighborhood who loved to trick kids, especially the greedy ones. Do you remember he would have a jar that had a
Yes.
narrow mouth full of coins?
Yes.
And he would go, take all that you want. And so greedy kids would reach their hand in, get their fistful of coins, and then couldn't get their hand out of the jar. Do you remember that?
I totally remember.
So how did you take coins out?
So I took one.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Had I taken more, my dad, who was waiting at the end of the driveway, would have made me take them back.
I know. All right, so we have the apples in the bowl, and now we're going to measure out the oil and get that in there and mix it in with the sugar, and we're going to let that sit for a bit. So let's see. It is how much oil?
1 cup.
1 cup. Okay, I can handle that. I got out the liquid measuring cup for that.
And
I'll pour that in.
add the sugar in.
Okay.
And so while we are doing these things, I also called our father to let him know we were making his apple cake.
Aw.
And I called him because I got thinking about the whole saying an apple a day.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, it's not true.
Right.
Yeah. So it made me think about other things that parents say to their children that are not true. You know, there's a million of them, right?
Right.
You sit too close to the television, you'll go blind. You cross your eyes, they'll stay that way. I don't know. There's a million. Anyway, so I got thinking of the falsehoods that our father liked to tell us. And one of his favorites was if you pee in the middle of the road, you'll get a sty in your eye.
I told someone that just a couple weeks ago. I got a sty, and
I must have been peeing in the middle of
That's
the
what I
road.
said, and they were like, "What?
What?
What are you talking about?" I'm like, "Well, that's what my dad said." They're like, "Okay."
As a little girl, I really contemplated how that would happen. And I decided you must sit on like the little grate that the water goes down and pee there. Because, I mean, what a messy affair to pee in the middle of the road.
Oh, gosh, that's horrible.
I really put thought into
You
it.
did. I didn't think about it that much.
Another of our father's favorites is if you see a round barn, you know a man died in there.
Yes, he did.
And how did he die?
He died because he couldn't find a corner to pee in.
What?
Oh my gosh, our dad is full of urine jokes.
That's true.
Wow.
So I had those two. I remembered them. And so I had to call him because there was one more and I couldn't remember. I remembered the result. I couldn't remember the action.
Mm-hmm.
And so I called him. I'm like, Dad, what is it that you have to do to put hair on your chest? And he's like, oh, anything you want.
Anything
You eat hot sauce, that'll put hair on your chest. You eat horseradish, that'll put hair on your chest.
So anything strong and flavored, or drink black coffee, that'll put hair on your chest.
So I actually found a website of the top 10 things that will put hair on your chest.
You are kidding me.
No.
I am going to avoid those at all costs. Well, at least it's not put hair on your chin. And I'm getting to the age where I do not want to have any more hair on my chin that I might have to pluck. Right?
My tweezers are dulled from the action. So I looked it up and there were other things. And then I had a conversation with your husband.
Oh.
And he could like zip them off.
What?
Yes, he knew a whole bunch.
Well, I guess this must be something that men think about constantly. How can I get more hair on my chest? Let me eat horseradish.
Eating the crust of bread puts hair on your chest.
What are some more?
Drinking whiskey.
Okay.
Obviously, that was not said to children.
Right.
Gosh, I can't remember. Those were the top ones that struck me. But we'll put a link to that website for sure on our website because, I mean, you have to know. There's 10 things you could do to quickly add some hair to your chest.
My son might like that. And again, I am going to avoid those foods at all costs.
My husband was sitting in the room as I had the conversation with my dad, and my husband loves hot sauce.
Oh, yeah.
And so he heard me repeat, hot sauce puts hair on your chest, and he goes, ha, sure doesn't.
Oh, poor guy. Oh,
Yeah.
well, that's funny. Well, I'm so glad you had a nice conversation with our dad. I had the how to poison someone with cyanide conversation. So, well, yours was nice, but also a lot about urine. So,
And hair on your
and hair
chest.
on your chest. Well, we're letting this sit for about 5 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes. I like to let it sit for just as long as the sugar, you don't see the sugar granules anymore.
Yeah.
It's kind of combined with the oil. I took a picture for you all of what it looked like when we just stirred in the sugar and the oil. You could see the grains. And now it's only been a few minutes and it's already starting to look more liquefied, but we'll give it just a few more.
It's science in action.
Ooh la la.
So while that sits, you move on to the second part of the recipe, which is adding all the cake stuff and making that.
That's right. We could just mix all the dry ingredients in something else and then dump it in.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that
So
works.
we'll mix them up in here. Okay. So we need
eggs, flour, and flavorful things.
Okay. So here's the bowl. Why don't you mix up the eggs in that? Because they're eggs mixed well. There's one Eggy Poo.
Excellent. And here we go again.
Second Eggy Poo. All right. And so I don't think that we really should do this in a separate bowl. You just mix the eggs and then we'll go ahead and put it all in the single bowl. I never mix the stuff separately. I just dump it all into the cake and stir, stir, stir. See, guys, this is why the cake is so great. I don't make it like Carrie. Carrie doesn't make it like me. And every single time it turns out perfectly.
Apparently, mine turns out better.
Yeah, no. Okay. As we were talking about apples and making this recipe, I was thinking about Johnny Appleseed.
Oh, I thought of him as you were talking about how to murder people with apples.
Oh, right. I don't think he went around murdering people with apples, though, Carrie.
No, but Dad knows a lot of stories. He's a big fan of Johnny Appleseed.
He is. I read about Johnny Appleseed and the apples that he planted and, took the seeds all around the area we grew up. And they were not your eating apples.
No.
They were really tart and bitter, and they were purely grown to make cider because, in those times, a lot of the drinking water would have been really bad, filled with bacteria. And, in the area where we live was called the Black Swamp. So you can imagine, what type of water was there. And so, yes, these apples were almost exclusively grown to make cider and Applejack.
And so you don't drink black swampy water.
You drink the cider. So basically everyone, well, yeah, but basically everyone, living at that time was like they were on the 1970s wine diet, right?
You could have non-alcoholic cider.
That's true. But what I read is ain't nobody was making that.
Oh.
Yeah. So now I'm putting in our vanilla and
keep going.
You can never get too much vanilla. Oops, I spilled a little too much. 2 teaspoons of vanilla. I have in the 2 teaspoons of cinnamon, 1 teaspoon of nutmeg, 1.5 teaspoons of the baking powder, and 1 teaspoon of the salt.
And here come the eggs.
Okay, we're just going to mix it all together. Exciting.
That makes the worst oogie moogie sound as you stir it.
Remember how I said this cake is moist? Well, it makes a very moist sound when you stir it.
Oh, yes, it does.
The cool thing about this cake is that
so many things are cool about this cake.
You don't have to grease and flour the pan.
No.
You don't have to grease it at all. There's so much oil in the cake that
Yep. And we're just going to throw it into a 9x13 pan.
Yep.
I mean, it's the same pan that our mom used for all of our birthday cakes.
Absolutely.
We decorated fancily on the top or would cut them so that the 9x13 became the shape of the number 1.
I was looking at old pictures and Mom made me a hot air balloon cake, a clown cake.
Yes, I think you had a Raggedy Ann cake.
I don't remember that one. I
might licorice, red licorice hair.
Cool.
Why do I remember that?
I don't know. I had a Miss Piggy cake. Oh, I love Miss Piggy.
And she was pretty crafty with cutting those cakes up.
She did a great job.
Yeah.
Or we'd have one of these 9x13 sheet cakes and she would just draw. She drew Kermit the Frog on one of mine and it looked exactly like it.
Wow.
Like him. She was really good. Do you remember any of the ones that you had? I didn't find any pictures of those. I don't think she loved you. Did you have decorated like that?
I didn't have birthday parties.
Oh, that's right.
I'm just kidding.
But you know what? Your birthday's on Halloween.
Yeah, odds are pretty good that most of my parties were Halloween type cakes. So I don't think I had that variety. Apparently my mom likes to tell the story is she had asked me, I'd had multiple Halloween themed birthday parties. And so I was, I don't know, 6 or 7 at this point. And she's like, well, Carrie, would you like something other than a costume party for your birthday? And I looked at her like shocked and dismayed. And I said, why would I do that? So apparently, no, all of my birthday cakes must have been holiday themed.
I guess they must have
Yeah, I
been.
don't remember any of them.
Could not find a single picture of any birthday cakes of yours. I saw your birthday parties.
Yeah,
But no,
none
not
of
a
the
single
cakes.
cake. And so we're going to put this cake in. I have spread it into the pan, a 9 by 13 inch pan. Did I do it right, Carrie? Did I do it right?
Very, very beautifully well.
Thank you, thank you. And we are going to put that into our already preheated oven, preheated to 350. We will pop that in. We're going to let that bake for about 45 minutes, and we'll get back with you real soon.
We have removed from the oven the most beautiful apple cake.
Ooh, it is gorgeous. It is golden brown. Well, shall I cut it up?
Yeah, absolutely. Go for it.
Now, the question is, how many slices do you cut it into? We had this conversation when writing down the recipe for you all, because Carrie and I had the original recipes. Mine was on a Post-it note that was dirty and oil splattered, and yours was on some type of an equally gross note.
Yeah,
right?
from college. It was a free notepad, the
Oh my
college cake.
gosh. So we wrote it on a nice recipe card for you all. And we kind of hemmed and hawed about serves how many. We had to look up how many people does a 9 by 13 cake pan serve, because in my mind with apple cake, this 9 by 13 pan would serve 3 people.
Yes. I think it depends on the appetite of your family. So if you can serve 15 from this apple cake, good for you. And if you serve 4, we totally understand that.
Totally
Mhm.
understand it. Now, would you like an end piece or a middle piece, Carrie?
Oh, any piece you want to give me, I will happily eat.
All right, let me take my handy dandy spatula that my lovely friend Julene found for us.
How nice. Thank you, Julie.
It is beautiful Corningware handle.
Wow.
So 70s.
The nice cornflower blue.
Oh, it is gorgeous.
That's
Now,
awesome.
getting the first piece of cake out is always the trickiest.
Yes, we'll take a picture of that one.
The spatula bends perfectly to get cake out.
Oh, it's made for this.
It's made for it. So I'm going to give you the crispy end.
Okay. So the top of our apple cake is naked. It is just apple cake. We do not put sugar on it. We do not make glazes to put over the top of it.
Not at all.
It is just apple cake. Now, if you wanted to zhuzh it up a little, feel free. Maybe some sugar sprinkled before it's, completely cut. That's my piece. What are you doing?
This is my piece. I'm taking the crumbs out from the pan before we even take our first bite. It's mine. It's mine. Oh, okay. Can you stop talking? I want to taste this right now.
I think this is about the most excited we've ever been, only because we know this recipe and we know we love it so much.
Yep, it smells heavenly. I can even smell the nutmeg, the cinnamon. The house smells like a bakery.
We have nice cups of coffee to go with our cake.
Yes, and Carrie, I bought this beautiful avocado green percolator.
Wow.
From Pat in Ohio when we last visited. That was the trip in which we found the final Mary's memo.
Oh my gosh, and an avocado green percolator.
Yep, and Pat said it was her mom's. And so we have brewed ourselves up some delicious cups of coffee in it to have with our apple cake, which makes a delicious coffee cake.
It does. And as we mentioned, anything cake.
Yep.
Okay, Kristen, I'm going to let you go first because that's the kind of nice sister I am, plus the drool it's getting to me.
I know, right? Yep. Well, I'm eating gluten-free because sometimes gluten makes me not feel so good, but I'm taking a bite of this cake.
She's digging in for a second bite. So I suppose I ought to chat at you while she continues to
It's so moist. Carrie, you finish the podcast. I'll be over here with my coffee and the cake.
We have lost Kristen to the apple cake. It's understandable. It's easy to get lost into. Is it just as tasty?
It is so good, and it's still warm, and it's always good with a scoop of ice cream or some
Cool Whip
Whip
the real whipped cream. You really just can't go wrong.
Why don't you take a bite?
Okay.
We'll take a sip of my delicious coffee from our new percolator,
All right.
our new old percolator.
Our new old percolator. Thank you for that. Good find.
I know. I was just absolutely thrilled to find that.
I have not had this cake in so long. It's been years.
Yep.
It may be better than I remember it.
You really cannot beat this. And I know that, we've said that a million times, but guys, you've got to try this cake. And not all of our recipes that we make on this show are going to be so delicious.
No.
But this one takes the cake. Well, I am super happy to do an apple cake a day if we're eating this.
I'm with you. I am right there. Well, that is it for this episode. Thank you so much for joining us. If you like what you heard, please share this podcast with a friend and be sure to give us some positive feedback. Otherwise, as my mom would say, if you can't say anything nice, don't say anything at all. Don't make me get my wooden spoon. Thanks for listening to Mom's Wooden Spoon. If you like what you heard, don't forget to subscribe. If you want a copy of this recipe or to check out our blog, click on the link to our website in the podcast description. If you'd rather, you could get to our website through Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. Pick your poison.
Don't say poison. We're making food.